What you are about to hear are not just words. It is the truth you have been running from all this time. You might hate what you hear, but believe me, you will thank me later, because this is not a passing motivational phrase or another video to fill your empty time. This is a moment that will change something deep inside you, a moment that might be the beginning you have been waiting for years. Take a deep breath and listen carefully. One day you will wake up from the coma you are in now and realize that your life was not a real life, but merely survival. You will discover that your days are repeating without meaning and that you have been postponing everything important until you started postponing yourself. Do you feel like you are living without a purpose? Do you feel like you are late for everything, as if everyone is moving forward while you are still standing in the same place? Do you see your dreams in front of you but never get closer to them? Do you pretend to be strong in front of others while inside you are falling apart more every day? If you feel this now, you are in the most dangerous place you can be, a place that silently steals your life and makes you adapt to pain as if it were normal. You are in a merciless swamp. Every day you stay in it steals a part of you, increases your weakness, and kills your belief in yourself until you become just a shadow of a person who once had a dream. But there is a way out, and it will not be through wishes or beautiful words, but through real steps that pull you out of the swamp and bring you back to life. In this video, I will give you these steps. I will show you the path that frees you from within and makes you the strongest version of yourself, even if the past tries to suffocate you every day. Now, take a deep breath and listen to me until the end, because this moment might be the beginning that has been waiting for you for years. The story of Paul Wood, from addict and prisoner to millionaire and psychologist. Paul from New Zealand was not born in darkness, but he fell into it one step at a time. He was an 18-year-old young man, lost and aimless, escaping his reality with drugs and an environment that was silently destroying him. He felt the void swallowing him day after day until the final blow came, the death of his mother, the person closest to his heart. In that moment, he felt as if the entire world had collapsed on him. The pain drove him to the abyss, and reckless decisions led him to commit a murder in self-defense. In the blink of an eye, he found himself in a narrow cell in one of New Zealand's harsh prisons, serving a life sentence. A person with no future, no identity, and nothing worth living for. He slept on the cold floor, carrying within him the feeling that it was over, that this was his end. But what Paul didn't know then was that this was not the end, but the beginning of building a completely different person from that lost young man. Paul thought his life was over, but he didn't know it was about to begin again. Paul entered prison completely broken, a 19-year-old with no hope, no future, and no one waiting for him on the outside. He lived between cold, gray walls, hearing the screams of prisoners at night and asking himself every day, is this the end? Will I die here? He slept on a hard metal bed, waking up to the sounds of iron doors, feeling like time had stopped. Every minute that passed felt like an hour, and every day that passed took a piece of his soul. The days in prison were not just a physical punishment, but a psychological torment. He watched himself slowly fall apart. His friends disappeared. His family was far away, and the voices of doubt inside him grew stronger. You are a failure. It's over for you. Your life is worthless. At that moment, Paul was at the deepest point of the bottom, a bottom where he saw no light or future. He thought he would stay there forever. But what he didn't know was that this very dark moment would plant a decision within him that would change his entire life. In that dark cell, Paul reached a point where he couldn't take anymore. He would stare at the cold ceiling every night and ask himself, will I spend the rest of my life here? Just a number inside these walls? Long days passed while he was immersed in sadness and regret, but on a certain day, Paul woke up with a different feeling, a feeling like an inner revolution. He said to himself, almost audibly, enough, I will not die like this. I will not allow this to be my end. That moment was the beginning of everything. Nothing changed around him in prison, but something inside him woke up. He decided to get up, even if he had nothing. He started with the smallest step he could take, learning. He requested books from the prison library. He read about psychology and philosophy. He began to understand himself and how he had reached this bottom. In the beginning, it was difficult. His mind resisted change. The negative voices pursued him. "What's the use? You'll never get out of here." But Paul ignored them. Every day he stood in front of himself and said, "One step today, one more step tomorrow." Day after day he began to change. He was no longer that lost young man who entered prison broken. He was rebuilding himself quietly, patiently, and with a strength he had never known before. Step 1. Stop the bleeding first. The first thing Paul did was look at his life, at everything that connected him to the past that led him to prison, and he decided to cut it all off completely. He knew that if he continued with the same habits, the same people, and the same way of thinking, he would never get out of this bottom. Therefore, he began with the most difficult decision any person can make, cutting off everything that was pulling him down. Paul, in the beginning, lived in a narrow cell, surrounded by the same kind of people who lived with a victim mentality. Everyone around him gave in to the situation, justified their failure, and spent their days waiting for the end of their sentence. But Paul refused to be like them. He closed his ears to their negative talk and stayed away from anyone who made him feel like he was finished. It was not easy. To stay away from people you are used to, even if they are bad, is harder than you can imagine. But Paul understood a very simple rule. You will never climb up as long as you are holding the hand of someone who is pulling you down. And you too cannot change if you are living in the same environment that created your weakness. You cannot build yourself while you are still talking to people who consume your energy and spending your time with those who mock your dreams or drag you back to the same bad habit every time. Change begins when you have the courage to say, enough. Enough of the habit that steals your life. Enough of the friend who laughs at your ambitions. Enough of the environment that makes you a pale copy of yourself. This step is the hardest, but the most important, because no matter how much you try to start a new beginning, you will not succeed if you are still tied to your old life. Paul cut off everything that was drowning him, and you too must ask yourself today, what is the thing that is pulling me down, and who is the person who is making me go backward? If you know the answer, don't wait. Cut it off, move away, get yourself out of this toxic circle, because every day you stay there is a day that steals the opportunity to become the person you want to be. Step 2. Knowledge is your way out of the darkness. After Paul cut off everything that was pulling him down, he began to look for something to save him from himself. He knew that the walls surrounding him in prison were not the real problem. The problem was the walls inside his mind. At first he felt lost, not knowing where to begin, but he decided to grab hold of the simplest thing available to him: books. He began requesting any book he could get from the prison library. He read about psychology, philosophy, and stories of people who faced the impossible and came out of it stronger. And with every page, he felt something changing inside him. For the first time in his life, he began to understand himself. He began to see clearly the mistakes that caused him to fall and the thoughts that were controlling him without him knowing. Some people underestimate the power of knowledge, but the truth is that any change in your life starts here, from your way of thinking. And your way of thinking will not change if you sit for hours on your phone or fill your time with emptiness. Today you may not live in a real cell, but many people live in a more dangerous prison, the prison of ignorance, the prison of not knowing anything new about themselves or about the world. If you want to be free, you must start feeding your mind every day. Read a book, listen to a deep podcast, learn a new skill. Don't say, "I don't have time," because every minute you steal from your time on trivial things is a minute that could open a door that changes your entire life. Paul understood this early on. He held on to the books as if they were the only rope that would lift him from the bottom. Every word he read planted in him a certainty that there was another way. You too make knowledge a daily habit, even if it's only 10 minutes, because every new idea that enters your mind is a light that removes a part of the darkness you have lived in for years. Step 3. Daily discipline, the weapon that silently reshapes you, then surprises everyone. After Paul cut off everything that was pulling him down and began to fill his mind with knowledge, he faced the most difficult challenge. Discipline. Change is not a fleeting idea or an enthusiastic decision for a day or two. Real change requires you to put yourself in a strict system, even if no one is watching or encouraging you. And he understood this lesson well. Inside prison, he had no coach to guide him and no one to applaud him, but he imposed a daily schedule on himself. Every morning he woke up at the same time, did his exercises in his small cell, and then sat for hours reading and writing his notes. In the beginning, he didn't feel any results. His mind tried to escape. Why are you tiring yourself? Nothing will change. You are in prison. But Paul knew the truth. If he didn't commit to a small step every day, he would never get out of this bottom. And you too, your life will not change while you wait for motivation to come from the outside. It will not change while you only work when you are in the right mood. Success doesn't wait for your mood. Success comes when you commit to something every day, even if you don't want to do it. Set clear daily rules for yourself. A specific time to wake up, one thing you develop in yourself daily, one bad habit you stop. These steps may seem small, but the power of discipline is that it is cumulative. It works in the background. Then you wake up weeks or months later to discover that you have become a completely different person. Paul lived this himself. He saw that he was changing himself very slowly. But this daily discipline is what created his new personality. And you too, start with a very simple step today and stick with it, no matter how you feel, because every day you are disciplined, you are getting closer to the person you want to be. Step 4. Don't give up because results don't appear quickly. After Paul began to commit to daily discipline, he faced the most difficult stage of his journey: patience. Whole months passed and he saw no real change. He woke up every day in the same cell, looked at the same cold walls, and said to himself, "What's the use? I'm still here. Nothing is changing." But Paul understood something important. Change does not appear quickly. It is like a seed you plant in the ground. You don't see the results on the first day or even the first week. But if you continue to care for it, one day you will be surprised when it emerges into the light. Many people give up at this stage. When they work on themselves for a week or a month and don't see a big difference, they think they have failed. So they leave everything and go back to square one. But the truth is that results always come late. Change works in the background, quietly carving your personality, then suddenly appears in a way that might shock you before anyone else. He continued even on the days he felt broken, even when all the circumstances told him, "You will not succeed." He would wake up and keep going day after day. And you too, you must understand that big results don't come quickly. You must continue to be disciplined even if you don't see any difference now, because every day you work on yourself is an investment in the future, and every small step you take today will become a huge leap after a while. Remember this rule well. Keep going even when you feel like nothing is changing, because in reality, you are changing every day. Paul didn't know when he would get out of prison, but he was sure that when it happened, he would come out as a completely different person, a person ready for a new life. After years of discipline, years of patience and working in the background, what Paul was waiting for happened. He got out of prison, but the person who got out was not the same person who went in years before. The lost, addicted young man who lived without a purpose was gone. The one who came out was another man, calm, confident, with a clear inner strength in his eyes. He had almost nothing material, but he came out with something more important: a completely different mind. A mind that knows how to create opportunities instead of waiting for them. A mind that knows that life will not give you anything if you don't fight for it. Paul didn't go out to freedom to waste his time. Instead, he began to apply everything he had learned inside prison to his new life. He completed his education, earned a doctorate in psychology, and then began giving lectures, writing books, and helping people overcome the impossible. Today, Paul Wood is no longer that unknown prisoner. He has become a millionaire, an international speaker, and a person people go to learn how to change their lives. But most importantly, he has become free from within, free from the limitations of the past, from his old ideas, from everything that was pulling him down. This story is not just about Paul, it is about you too. Because the truth is, you are capable of making the same transformation in your life, no matter how much the past weighs you down. You may be in another kind of prison, the prison of routine, failure, frustration, but that doesn't mean it's over for you. Paul got out of the bottom because he decided not to give up. And you too can rise up from wherever you are now, even if all the circumstances are against you, even if you have nothing to start with. All you need is an inner decision and then clear steps that you follow every day until you create the new version of yourself. Finally, if you have reached this point, it means you are ready to change. Share this video with someone you know who needs to hear this message now. Hit the like button now, because every like from you helps this message reach a larger number of people. And subscribe to the channel, because what's coming will make you an unstoppable person.